That's a stupid survey. Meanwhile, from a late-night chat to a talk with the troops, the president at Camp Pendleton this very hour, this very moment. But it is what he said last night that is still sticking in a lot of people's craw.
We don't have a domestic spying program.
Oh, really? Well, the judge ain't buying it. Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto. And I guess Ed Snowden really didn't do anything wrong, because to hear the President of the United States tell it, there is no domestic spying going on.
There is no spying on Americans. We don't have a domestic spying program. What we do have are some mechanisms where we can track a phone number or an email address that we know is connected to some sort of terrorist threat.
This just in, by the way, I'm not heavy. The camera adds 50 pounds. All right, now, the judge knows that is not true. The judge also knows that this thing the president said last night is not true. Not when, a couple 100 million Americans are being tracked. Judge, I mean, that really,
I was surprised.
Over the top.
I was surprised to hear the president say that, because not only Edward Snowden, but other former NSA staffers, I'm not talking about outside contractors, but people employed for their careers with the NSA, have corroborated Mr. Snowden in this respect. The government has the ability to access from storage the actual emails and texts that every American has sent in the past 2.5 years, and the sound of telephone calls, the voices on the calls that Americans have made in the past 2.5 years. Example, the order signed by Judge Roger Vinson in April of this year, just 4 months ago, directed Verizon to surrender the telephonic information on all 113 million of its customers. That's more than half the telephone base in the United States. The president couldn't possibly not know that.
But that is not, he says, a domestic surveillance program. Then what is it?
I don't know what the president means in his terminology, but if capturing phone calls and capturing emails and capturing texts of every American for 2.5 years is not a domestic spying program, then nothing is a domestic
he's a good lawyer.
Spying program.
You're a very good lawyer, judge, and constitutional expert besides. I know it gets back to this Clintonian, that depends what the meaning of the word is. So, but what he's saying is, if the intent isn't to spy on those in the United States, and he's saying so that it's not a domestic surveillance program, it is then an effort to find, through tracking down this stuff in the United States, to go after bad guys abroad. Is he then technically within the letter of being accurate?
He's not anywhere near being accurate. He's not anywhere near being lawful. He's not anywhere near being constitutional. But I know what his goal is. Now, no one disputes his goal. His goal is to find the bad guys. His goal is to hear a conversation between two monsters plotting something before they carry it out, so that we can stop them. That's a laudable goal. It's a goal he is required to pursue.
And he also said on Jay Leno that he fine-tuned this enough, some of the laws and the crackdowns he inherited from President Bush, with court permission, et cetera, so that it took some of the oomph out of it. Do you agree with that?
No, because this is a secret court. The judges on which aren't even allowed to keep copies of their own orders and their own rulings. They can't carry their own pens, pencils, papers, iPhones, or Blackberries into the court or out of the court. We don't even know what the government's arguments are. Look, when the government is after a half-dozen evil people, why does it need to surveil all 330 million Americans? Do you know where the government has answered that question? To this secret court. It has never answered it in public. And when General Alexander, Keith Alexander, the head of the NSA, was asked by Congressman Mike Rogers, former FBI agent and now chair of the House Intelligence Committee, do you have the ability to listen to all phone calls and read all emails? Answer, no, sir. We don't have that authority. He was asked about ability. He responded about authority, because he does have the ability. Do they listen to everybody's phone call? They don't have the time to. Can they listen to everybody's phone call? Of course. Was the Constitution written to prevent the government from engaging in dragnets like that? They're looking for 30 people and they surveil 330 million. You better believe that's why we have the Fourth Amendment. So the only way they can pull this off is in secret. And the only way they can get Congress to agree with it is by telling fewer than 20 members of Congress in secret, and then saying to those members of Congress, it's against the law for you to tell anybody what we've just told you. That's not a representative form of government. That's not what the Constitution requires, and the president knows that.
Do you think you're particularly angry because your birthplace, Newark, New Jersey, is now considered the most inhospitable city on the planet?
Yes. I was born in Newark, and I did practice law there for a couple of years, and it's not the most inhospitable place in the United States.
But over Islamabad?
I don't believe that.
No, I don't believe that.
I don't believe that. Anybody else
outrageous.
but Shep saying that, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I believe Shep. I don't.
I saw the study to which you was referring, but I just don't buy it. And I sense a lot of elitist anti-New Jersey.
I'll tell you what, I will
types.
discuss NSA spying with the President of the United States and you in Newark, New Jersey.
Sure.
And we might invite Shep.
Newark bar. All right. Thanks, buddy, very much. The judge on what might not be just right.
Justice, it's not about agenda, it's not about mobilizing people, it's about dialing for corporate dollars. These two parties have sold the U.S. government and the American people to the highest bidders.
That means no more illegal wiretapping of American citizens. No more national security letters to spy on citizens who are not suspected of a crime. No more tracking citizens who do nothing more than protest a misguided war. No more ignoring the law when it is inconvenient.
Ah!